The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene and you're listening to the Durian Heat, where we bring you the latest interviews in Southeast Asia. And today's issue that we want to talk about is not really an issue, but it's more of a hobby for most of the people who live in the urban area. I would say urban farming is the new trend nowadays. A lot of people are actually, making it as part of the way to live a more sustainable lifestyle. And we have Yasmin Rasyid, founder of EcoKnights, as well as Ashaari Rahmat. He called himself a permaculture enthusiast. And, well, he will explain more about it. What does it mean? But first of all, I just want to say that welcome to the show, and thanks for wanting to sit down here and share some tips on urban farming.
Yeah, thanks, Arlene. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Arlene.
So, good morning, everyone, and maybe a bit of introduction about your background so that people know more about what you guys do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to...
Okay, well, Ashaari and I met by chance or coincidentally. We're both related to a startup called Poptani, which was initiated last year. Of course, our core areas of interest is how do you encourage urban populations to look at farming or food growing as something that's positive and something that is not alien to them. And there are many reasons why we have our interest in this area as well, which we will explain later. Personally, I'm a marine biologist.
Which is like nothing to do with soil or land.
Yeah, well, maybe soil on the water, but I love growing stuff. I mean, I was never I was never into farming or growing things, but I guess motherhood changes you in many ways. And of late, we have this interest of how do we tap into the mindset of the general Malaysian to get them thinking about easy ways to start agriculture right in their doorstep. Yep, and that brought me to Ashaari.
Yeah, we met through Poptani.
Tell me about Poptani, what exactly it is.
Oh, Poptani. So the dream is to put a farm in every house.
It's like Bill Gates, a computer in every house. Now it's a farm.
Sure, right? Yeah. Why not? Because I think a lot of us are realizing the importance of. Well, we all know food is important. We all love food.
Yeah, Malaysians.
I think we're not so aware on food security issues.
Mm-hmm.
We know prices will rise, prices will go down. There's fluctuation and all that, but not many of us are always aware about food miles or what goes into food production, how it impacts the environment, and ultimately how it will impact our own lives. So a lot of those who are aware are now doing a lot of urban farming things. Poptani came about because we feel like, hey, let's try and make this easier and fun for people to start farming in their own house. Our partner Shanas, he had a aquaponics kit outside his house for 5 years, but he says it's really ugly looking. That his wife every morning goes like, can you do something about it? But when it comes to the food, nobody has any issues, right?
And what sort of plants that they plant?
They were planting lots of leafy green vegetables, and because aquaponics is a system where you use fish and vegetables in the same unit. So you have a created environment where you have this symbiotical relationship between the fish and the plants. So the water from the fish goes up to the grow bed, and that becomes the fertilizer, and clean water goes back down to the fish essentially. So you save a lot of space to grow much more food. You save water because that's the only water you put in. You only top up when it evaporates, and you also save energy because although you use a pump, most of these are low-powered pumps that cost cheaper than having your air conditioning on.
I see. So
Poptani is a very strong advocate of bringing back that pop culture into farming.
Pop culture,
yeah.
That's why farms, make farming cool again.
So, why you say yourself that you are a permaculture enthusiast?
Okay.
What injected you into it in the first place?
Permaculture, I think, and it's becoming something a lot more people are becoming aware of or wanting to know more about. I think I came across permaculture through a colleague of mine. He in where I used to work before. I used to work with the NGO that does disaster relief, and he was talking about sustainable systems and so on and so forth. And suddenly he came across permaculture, which is actually a combination of permanent agriculture, permanent not in the sense of concrete or rebar or stuff around you, but permanence in the sense of following the resilient patterns you see in nature. And a culture or agriculture is just our own occupation on this planet. So it's not a way of doing things, more of a way of thinking and philosophy about how we are with the earth, how we are with each other, and how we manage resources.
I see.
So that something that began back in the 70s or 80s, and has sprouted a lot, if not most, of the environmental movements that are across the globe, because people thought, we can't keep on protesting and saying, we should change this, change that, change this, change that, but you don't have a viable alternative. So permaculture offers people starts people thinking about what the viable alternative would be.
So to you, change should start from the grassroots, as in like with ourselves, from ourselves or our family, changing habits, changing the way we see how the supply chain works. Because right now, in today's modern farming industry, the supply chain, you buy a product that is probably made miles away, and then the whole process of getting the food from its origin to your plate has probably burned so many carbons.
And then the price that you pay for does not necessarily reflect the price that's actually paid for, not just by the people who are working, the time and energy spent working, growing the coffee beans or the vegetables or the food you grow, or even those cattle farmers, but also that doesn't reflect the price that the earth is paying.
True value.
The true value of it.
Yeah.
Like you said, the carbon increase
and it's a very interesting topic right now in this time and climate, because Malaysia traditionally in the last 3 decades was a very agriculture centric country. We're rich in that sense. Our soil is fertile. We can grow a variety of crops being in a tropical country, but you see that shift happening very drastically.
We are importing more and more
80%
food.
80% of what we eat is imported. Although we still produce, and it's quite sad to find out that actually some of our high quality produce are exported out. I guess maybe because people are willing to pay a high price for it and we are not. But it's quite sad because it seemed like maybe we're not aware of the kind of quality we need of food to be living healthily. Maybe we're not looking at other avenues in which how difficult or how expensive can it be to produce food? If you look at it as yourself as a person with able hands, able mind, and almost everyone technically should have that skill. And then I just wanted to highlight also that I think the average age of a farmer in Malaysia, it's probably 45 or 50 years and above. So it's quite sad that we're actually
the
losing
younger
a generation of farmers. And of course we have massive farms that are more commercial these days, right? Because we need to produce that at a faster amount of time. But that changing landscape, I guess, was the impetus to how, Pop Tiny is not the only one, but there are many communities out there as well.
When you talk about imported goods, actually it's interesting to highlight that a lot of Malaysian, when it comes to the percentage of their expenditure, based on their salary, a lot of the money goes to food. And a lot of the food that we buy are not necessarily made by Malaysians or produced by Malaysians. So at the end of the day, we actually, flowing our economy.
But the local orang tak nak.
But let's go back to urban farming. The philosophy of having a family or a person to cultivate their own farm, it's more than just about being sustainable. It's also about, taking care of the environment, taking care of the economy, and learning new skills about things that, our forefather has done throughout their lives. So my question on modern day urban farming, how can it be possible in such a limited space that we have?
It has been possible. Many people are doing it. So it's and you see great successes and very inspiring stories. I think there was once I went to Shah Alam. A good friend of mine stays around section 8. Section 8 ke section 7 Shah Alam, but underneath the Rentis lines, the electrical lines, they were farming there, and it's being supported by the local council as well. I think a lot of local councils also have the local Agenda 21 chapter, so I think and they support a lot of community initiatives on urban farming as well. I think there's one in there are many, but the one that comes to mind dekat this PPR. What's the name of the PPR? The
herbal garden.
Yeah, the herbal garden supported by LA21.
I can't remember. I have the card, but I can't remember.
But they do have there's support from local authorities and there's community interest. Spaces you don't really need that much space to do urban farming. Like, it can be even a small community of a few neighbors on a patch of land, and then they grow food and they share together. You have more neighbors, and you can find bigger plots of land. You can do that, or it can be in different sections of the city or the farm or the neighborhood. Sorry, not farm. Someone's backyard can grow bananas, someone's backyard can grow papayas, and you trade.
So it becomes a community.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially the philosophy about it. It's just not you yourself doing it, but to be able to influence people around you. And I guess that's how people live those days as well. Realizing you have limited land, you grow the crops that you love. Someone else is also growing some other crop that you may like. At the end of the day, there's this whole concept of food sharing. Or I mean, it may sound very ancient now, barter trading and so forth, but it's very possible. And I grew up in a small town in Ipoh, and it was very normal. When a neighbor down the road would harvest, cucumbers or fruits, you will be getting some later on in the week. And if our guava fruits, and we have excess of it, we definitely will pass it along to our neighbors as well. I mean, this is the semangat or the spirit of community. And back to your question, Arlene, about small spaces. I think when we look at a space, we will normally look on what's on the ground. We don't really, we fail to also, explore our creativity and look that the space is very three-dimensional. So growing of crops doesn't really have to be on the ground only these days. It can be stacked up vertically. What if you are living in a condominium or apartment? How do you make use of space?
Rooftop gardens, balcony gardens, hanging gardens.
Top Tiny and EcoKnights worked with a developer recently in Kara East, SBC Group, and it's actually going to be a growing trend. We can see it already, where developers are trying to create these living spaces for people who purchase these units, and we were lucky to experiment with six
floors
balconies.
Yeah.
Where we converted it into a edible garden, with chili, what else, pomelo, lemongrass, and so forth. And Pop Tiny had a aquaponic system there to produce food, basically. So people who walk out from their condominium or units, if you need just a twig of curry leaves, you don't really have to get in your car and drive to the nearest shop. You can just pluck it.
That's true.
And then use it at home, or just maybe some daun bawang and all that.
And then you get your leafy greens from the aquaponic system. It's I think on those we put a 6-foot tank on each floor. And I think there are about 50 tilapia fishes.
Oh wow!
There. And that powers that the water from the fish and the fertilizers. I think we were growing bak choy the last time around.
Yeah.
Oh, talking about plants, what is the most interesting plants that you ever encounter people growing in their backyard or in their balcony?
I think not so much most interesting plant per se, but the most interesting way they're planting it. So this guy in Malacca, he's growing fig trees, mulberry bushes in aquaponic systems. So without any soil.
Is it possible?
Without soil.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he puts them in containers with clay balls, and then underneath there's where the fish lives, and then the water cycles that way, and then the fig leaves are humongous, and
Really?
you can see figs already growing. And I think the plant was about 3 or 4 feet high, not too tall.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mulberries were only a couple of inches, but already fruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
who doesn't love mulberries?
I actually saw an image. I've not seen it with myself, but maybe a 10 or 12 inch high pot, and it was a patai tree.
Oh,
and
really?
it was fruiting.
Wait,
And
people can actually plant patai tree? I thought, usually it's being found in the jungle, being picked by the
No,
orang
this
asli.
is being planted, and I've
Oh.
seen a papaya tree. There are not more.
Oh, papaya.
But the patai
Patai?
and papaya as
Oh.
well, not more than 5 feet tall in a pot, and it's fruiting like continuously. Which traditionally you think you need to have this on ground, right, to
Yeah.
grow, but I think that's the innovation you see in urban farmers as well. Limited space, limited areas to work with, so everything,
Limited
like it or not,
resources.
you kind of put it in a pot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put it in a pot, and it's movable. So if you don't like it in this balcony, you can always move it to the next balcony. And that limitation in space kind of makes people innovate a little bit more in term, and this passion and love for farming is also increasing. You can see
Yeah.
actually more young people into
I mean,
it.
if I can plant patai tree in my backyard, I wouldn't mind doing it because, a lot of the food nowadays are so expensive to buy, and it's good if we can actually do it at home, and you can even rear fish, right?
Mhm.
Like the tilapia. Yeah.
Yeah. So for this work effort that we did in the 6 balconies for SBC, it's a growing trend. You will see more, actually, perhaps more residential areas, more developers actually coming up with landscapes that are more edible, landscapes that produce food, that encourages communities to come and visit these spaces and enjoy a little bit. I think we've lost touch of this joy of watching things grow.
That's true.
Especially when you do it with your own hands.
Anyway, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll discuss further on why Malaysians are still not into urban farming. At least some of them are not into.